The British Museum, located in the Bloomsbury district of London, is one of the most famous museums in the world, dedicated to the history, art, and culture of humanity. Founded in 1753, it was the first national museum open to the public and remains today a symbol of access to knowledge for all. The museum houses 8 million artifacts that tell the story of humankind from the earliest times to the present day. The beginnings of the British Museum are linked to the donation made by Sir Hans Sloane, who gathered over 71,000 items, including books, manuscripts, naturalistic objects, and artifacts from various corners of the world, such as Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The museum opened in 1759 in Montague House, and its growth accelerated thanks to the colonial expansion of Great Britain, which allowed the acquisition of many exceptional treasures, such as the Elgin Marbles from the Parthenon and the famous Rosetta Stone, which enabled the deciphering of Egyptian hieroglyphs. The British Museum quickly became not only a scientific institution, but also a cultural center that, over the centuries, acquired further artifacts from around the world. In 1823, King George IV donated the Royal Library, significantly enriching the museum's collection. At the end of the 19th century, the Charles Townley Gallery was established, a space dedicated to Roman art, contributing to the expansion of the museum's mission, not only as a place of learning, but also as a temple of art. Today, the British Museum is home to many important collections, from ancient Egypt through Mesopotamia to Greece and Rome. Its Egyptian collection is one of the largest in the world, including monumental statues of pharaohs, mummies, sarcophagi, and the Rosetta Stone. The Mesopotamian collection, which includes bas-reliefs depicting hunting scenes and life at the royal court, provides insight into the civilizations of the ancient Near East. The Greek collection includes sculptures from the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, as well as numerous vases, jewelry, and everyday objects. The architecture of the museum also makes a huge impression. The main facade, designed by Robert Smirke, is inspired by the neoclassical style and modeled on ancient temples. At the center of the museum is the Queen Elizabeth II Great Court, the largest covered square in Europe, which surrounds the former reading room. The glass roof of this courtyard fills the interior with natural light, creating an exceptionally welcoming atmosphere. A visit to the British Museum is not only about viewing artifacts, but also participating in numerous cultural events and educational workshops. The museum offers free admission, attracting millions of tourists each year who wish to delve into human history. It is a place that inspires both children and adults, offering a wide range of permanent and temporary exhibitions, as well as educational activities that help better understand the history of the world. The British Museum is not only a treasure trove of knowledge, but also a symbol of openness and access to the cultural heritage of all humanity. Everyone who visits this unique place embarks on a journey through time and space, discovering the fascinating stories of the people who lived before us. The British Museum is not just a place where we observe ancient artifacts behind glass cases. It's a space where the past comes alive and inspires us. From the moment you enter the building, you are surrounded by impressive architecture and an atmosphere rich with history. The massive neoclassical facade, styled after ancient temples, immediately gives the place a majestic character, and crossing the threshold of the museum means embarking on an extraordinary journey through time. The central courtyard, the Great Court, forms the heart of the museum, surrounded by the semicircular reading room, illuminated by natural light streaming through the huge glass roof. It is a place that exudes calm, where you can sit down, rest, and reflect on what you have seen. In the British Museum, each gallery has its own story to tell. The exhibits are presented in a way that helps to understand not only their historical value, but also the context in which they were created. For example, in the Egyptian galleries, you can see not only mummies and statues of pharaohs, but also everyday items that show what life was like for people in the Nile Valley thousands of years ago. This is what makes the museum so special. It connects monumental histories of kings and pharaohs with the stories of ordinary people, their everyday objects, and their lives. Interactive exhibits and descriptions in each hall guide us through the history of various civilizations. In many galleries, You'll also find touch panels and screens that interactively explain the mysteries of some of the exhibits. In the Assyrian galleries, we can admire impressive bas-reliefs that not only depict battle scenes or lion hunts, but also show religious rituals and life at the royal court. All of this creates a broad picture of life in ancient times. The Enlightenment Gallery is also a particularly interesting place. It was once home to the Royal Library and reflects the spirit of the 18th century enthusiasm for exploring the world. Here, you can see what scientific questions were being asked at the time and what artifacts and books were collected to answer them. This gallery perfectly illustrates how humanity's understanding of the world evolved, from gathering curiosities to more systematic scientific research. Another aspect that makes the British Museum so unique is the numerous thematic temporary exhibitions. These exhibitions attract crowds of visitors and offer the opportunity to see artifacts borrowed from other museums and institutions around the world. These exhibitions are prepared with great care, and their themes often range from ancient Egypt to modern art, allowing for immersion in diverse cultures and discovering new perspectives. For example, exhibitions dedicated to Viking culture or Japanese art are events that leave a lasting impression on visitors, offering not only visual experiences but also intellectual stimulation. The British Museum is also a place for cultural meetings, workshops, and educational activities that attract both adults and children. The museum's educational departments organize a variety of activities, including workshops on creating art inspired by ancient cultures or sessions where young explorers can feel like archaeologists uncovering finds in controlled conditions. It is a way to bring children closer to history and spark their interest in culture and science. The British Museum also hosts lectures and talks for adults, deepening knowledge of specific eras and artifacts. What also impresses is the amount of cultural diversity that we can find there, from the art of the ancient Maya to Chinese porcelain to treasures of medieval Europe. The British Museum is a true showcase of world culture. This diversity shows not only the richness of human creativity, but also the mutual influences that have shaped civilizations over the centuries. Walking through the halls of the British Museum, we notice how much different cultures have drawn from each other and how they have developed their unique characteristics. It is also worth mentioning the atmosphere of the museum. During the week, you will encounter people from all over the world, and each hall is filled with a mixture of languages, making it not only an educational place, but also one of cultural diversity experienced firsthand. You feel that it is a place for everyone, from tourists to researchers and students. All have access to the same knowledge, to the same treasures of history. With this approach, the British Museum demonstrates that cultural heritage should be a common good, accessible to anyone ready to learn the stories our past has to tell. A visit to the British Museum is an unforgettable experience that allows us not only to observe but also to feel history. This unique combination of past and present means that upon leaving the museum, we depart with a new perspective on our own culture and the heritage of humanity. It is certainly a place that anyone interested in world history should visit at least once in their life, to feel, understand, and experience this amazing journey through time. One of the main directions defining the future of the museum is further technological development. The British Museum is increasingly utilizing modern technologies to bring its collections closer to audiences around the world. Digitization of the collection allows anyone, regardless of their place of residence, to access the artifacts, thus fulfilling the museum's mission of providing knowledge in a modern way. This includes not only the digitization of images and descriptions of objects, but also creating virtual tours of the galleries, allowing people from all over the world to experience a visit to the museum without leaving their homes. Through augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality, VR, the British Museum aims to provide even more immersive experiences that help deepen the understanding of history and culture. Another challenge that the British Museum faces is the responsibility for the collections it holds, especially in the context of growing discussions about the restitution of artifacts. In recent years, there have been increasing calls for the return of certain treasures to their countries of origin, such as Greece, Egypt, or Nigeria. One of the most controversial cases is the so-called Elgin Marbles, which Greece has long demanded to be returned to Athens. The museum seeks to engage in dialogue with governments and institutions from around the world to work out fair and mutually beneficial solutions. This is a challenge that requires openness, transparency, and a willingness to collaborate with other nations. The British Museum is continually seeking new ways to engage younger audiences. By organizing workshops, educational projects, and collaborating with schools, the museum aims to attract new generations who will continue the tradition of discovering the past and preserving cultural heritage. New initiatives focus on incorporating technology into education, making history lessons more interactive and engaging. Through educational games, mobile apps, and other modern tools, the British Museum strives to reach younger audiences in a way that is comprehensible and attractive to them. The museum is also actively working towards sustainable development. In the age of climate change, the British Museum is taking steps to reduce its carbon footprint and adapt its buildings and operations to ecological requirements. Transitioning to energy-efficient lighting, reducing energy consumption, and introducing more sustainable management practices are just some of the steps the institution is taking to protect the environment. The British Museum is also involved in environmental education, organizing special exhibitions and workshops about nature conservation and the impact of human activity on the natural environment. An interesting element of the museum's future is the further development of international cooperation. The British Museum regularly partners with museums and cultural institutions worldwide, enabling the exchange of exhibits, knowledge, and the organization of joint exhibitions. This allows the museum to enrich its collection with unique temporary displays that attract tourists and history enthusiasts. International cooperation is also an opportunity to build positive relations and foster mutual understanding between countries. In summary, the future of the British Museum is full of challenges, but also tremendous opportunities. Through modern technologies, international collaboration, youth education, and a responsible approach to the environment, the museum strives not only to preserve its rich heritage, but also to evolve and inspire future generations. In an era of global changes, the British Museum has a great opportunity to redefine its role as a place that not only presents history, but also actively participates in its creation and shapes the future.
over, let me know. Okay, I will do. Thank you. Okay.
A different one on each day.
There's a Chinese number.
Traveling case for a parent. Nice. Yeah. So,